Then on Saturday, that one nearly a curtain raiser for the big dramatic massive game that obviously we are very invested in. Japan against Ireland is this coming Saturday, 8:15 a.m. Irish time. That is in Shizuoka Stadium Ikopa, 50,000 seater.
Awesome.
In Shizuoka, one of the hotter and more humid parts of Japan, I'm led to believe.
And Angus Gardner reffing, who likes a fast, flowy game of rugby, so he does.
It's like they've manipulated. It is hilarious. Like maybe I'm being conspiratorial, but there definitely seems to be an element of Japan manipulating this to give them as good, like working every intangible in their favour to give them as good a chance of qualifying as they can conceivably have.
It's in the more muggy part of the country where it's going to be hotter and stickier. It's it's reffed by a guy who likes to keep it fast and open and maybe not be as harsh on the breakdowns.
They've got the perfect wait time. They've obviously got a couple of extra days on Ireland, and for the Scotland game, it's almost piss take. They've got like a 10-day rest in period, where Scotland have like a 5-day turnaround. So I mean, listen, they're doing their best to make a quarterfinal anyway. From that point of view. Whether they can cope with Ireland is a different question. Now, Japan are very impressive. They're one of my favourite teams in world rugby. I love everything about how they play the game, how fast and how just pure their attacking sense is. Like, the catch pass is phenomenal from all their players, and they really appreciate where the space is and seem to have an appreciation of just like, you don't run at bodies, you run at gaps. Yes. I love that principle, because Ireland sometimes are just the reverse of that. Like, sometimes that's just the case. You break the bodies and then walk over their corpses to the try line.
Exactly.
That's the Irish approach.
That's our approach. And that may be enough for this Japan side, because looking at what we did to Scotland, and we know Scotland are capable of being physical, certainly capable of being more physical than they were on the weekend just gone.
But they did seem to have the conditions affecting them quite a bit.
They did, and I would expect Japan to not be as phased by that, obviously, given that it's,
if anything, they'll have the edge.
Yes, in that intangible. But, and similar to what I've prefaced every Japan game with, particularly the Springbok one earlier, if Ireland are in it, or if it's close at all after the first quarter, it's already game over. I don't really see Japan living with that Ireland physicality for any length of time. What their winning conditions are is catching Ireland a little cold, a little detached, a little loose, and scoring like 3 tries in the first 20 minutes.
Getting the ball out of the contact and moving it from side of the pitch to side of the pitch and catching the Irish cold. Exactly right. It has the dual effect, because it is when Japan like to strike, and Ireland really, when they go behind early, tend not to cope with it. Where when they're ahead on the scoreboard, really, regardless of what's going on, they tend to have cool heads about them. And when they go behind is when they get desperate, and when they start losing their focus and discipline and doing bad things. That is Japan's winning conditions for sure. And there is a danger to it. I think a lot will depend on whether Ireland can do what both Russia and South Africa have done to Japan and just trap that ball on the contact.
Make rucks.
Against Fiji, they were sort of going wide, the play was getting sort of shut down, they were going into contact and then just turning around, popping it right back. Before there was a ruck, the scrummy was there and we were away again. And that was the kind of thing that they loved to do. And when there were rucks, it was quick present, quick pass, we're out of here. They want to avoid that contact area. So Ireland holding players up, forming mauls, failing that, just falling on the wrong side and getting one guy in and then moving out so you don't get pinned, but still slowing everything up and making everything messy, as Gadjev did to that Japanese offence in the first half.
Almost single-handedly, he was in every breakdown and making a real... They really didn't... That was like... They should expect that, and that was what disappointed me most in that first half. Whatever about the high ball floundering and the kind of nerves and general jitters that were on display in that first 20 minutes from Japan against Russia was kind of to be... Well, like, once I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that I could have seen that coming, I guess, because it's like it's day one, you're hosting the World Cup, and it's like everyone's watching you, looking. And then suddenly some howlers come out of you, and it's like, that's to be expected. But more of a systems error whereby they just... Because they're looking for that offload game, when the rucks happen, they're very slow to resource them. And maybe that's just because I'm used to watching Ireland, who are probably the most focused on resourcing offensive breakdowns, so I know what it looks like when it's done really well. But Japan are very laissez-faire on that, and they were letting that Russian 7 run roughshot all over them. For the whole first half, really, they really didn't adjust or deal with it at all. And Ireland are going to double down on that tactic in particular. Like, they will be throwing... if that's to be the case, that'll be a field day for the likes of Josh van der Fleer.
Peter O'Mahony as
O'Mahony's
well.
great
Absolutely.
nuisance in there.
Tyke Byrne, I would love to see Tyke Byrne.
Yeah,
He needs game
I would
time. He should
deploy
be in
Tyke
there.
Byrne in there because he didn't get the game time he probably deserved due to that yellow card, that somewhat dubious yellow card. In the Scotland game. So he's one I would be throwing in there against the Japanese. Like as far as Ireland's winning conditions are concerned, there are probably a few more of them than for Japan. Ireland are on balance a much superior side and can win this in various different ways.
We are to infer that there will be some significant changes.
Yeah.
It's doubtful, I think, that Peter O'Mahony, Johnny Sexton or Robbie Henshaw will feature.
Yes.
So it opens the door for the likes of the informed Chris Farrell. The question is, I think Ireland will try to do up front to Japan a job, like a real job, like they did on Scotland. Have like a nice bit of variation, nice lovely quick sharp passing from both halfbacks, putting the guys into the right channels, but then having the bulk of the workload be done by ball carriers and occasionally getting working, the likes of Chris Farrell into the centre. Bundyaki is another guy who might not feature this week because of his concussion.
He's still got a bit of a shiner as well on his head. I've seen a tip on him, so he may be due for a week off anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. But working the likes of Chris Farrell and then working just hard carry.
Most of it off 9, because I think that is a recipe to break this Japan side. Like we saw, played them there a couple of years ago, and the likes of Gary Ringrose, but also similarly Jack Conan around the fringes was a monster in Japan 2 years ago. They couldn't really handle his kind of dynamic ball carrying coupled with that physicality. So I'm expecting something similar. A lot off 9, both centres and back rowers, and then a few just their tight 5. Being put into contact after contact with them, hold the ball for as long as we can, as long as it takes to score a try, and try and milk some of their penalties and just exert that control.
The early margins are going to be really crucial. I mean, Ireland, they looked last week. I mean, they had moved away from it in the recent warm-up games, but they went straight back to the box kick, the Murray box kick, that worked really well for them, especially in the latter half of the game when it rained. They worked their way down the pitch very nicely by just winning the kicking game slowly and surely against the Scots all the way to a bonus point try. But if the kicks go a little loose, you are kicking to a very, very dangerous back three. Especially like if Japan can get Kenki Fukuoka back,
that would be nice.
That's insane danger.
That's good, and I thought Lemeki did quite well in his absence in his stead, but he's not as awesome or as whereas Matsushima was showing all the legit skills and star quality that he had last week. Fukuoka is like as good on the other wing. When they're both there, that's what they have on either wing. It just means all tries can be converted. And then when
Tamura to them is dangerous.
Tamura had a very poor showing in the first game. I'd expect his head to be screwed back on for this one. I think he'd appreciate the challenge of what Ireland are going to bring, and they're going to rely on his kicking game to try and get them into the right areas as well. So Ireland will need to be ready in the backfield to defuse that. But Japan defensively, from their back three point of view, yes, they can counter off loose kicks, but don't expect too many of them. I think Ireland will probably kick for contestables and kick for height a bit more, and they'll want to get their just fielding of the high ball to a much higher standard than it was against Russia,
and then get their counter-attack going. I mean, the battle between sort of the Murray, I believe Carberry will probably play Murray-Carberry dynamic, and Tamura's kicking game is going to be fascinating. And the winner of that dynamic in the early parts of the game is going to be who gets to colour what goes on and where the game is played, which could be crucial because early scores for either side could make this game one of two very different ways.
Sure. But
there are avenues for Japanese
there are
success.
definitely
Ireland shouldn't be taking it for granted. The weather is a huge factor.
Well, it's like both of these sides will want to be playing with a very different tempo from each other, so you'll be able to see who's getting on top of it, judging just by how quick that game is a lot of the time. Like if it's fast and loose and suddenly Ireland are throwing reckless offloads that aren't really in their game, then you know that the Japanese are getting to them and they're starting to set their own pace in the game. But if it becomes a bit more bludgeoning and slow, expect Ireland to take it, and that's kind of what I expect. So
indeed, and from Ireland's perspective, they can get a very quick game going themselves, but it needs to be the more controlled pace. Like their offense does need to have more avenues to it, but it's a little more along the lines of what you saw Chris Farrell do when he came on against the Scots, punching holes through the middle, getting the odd offload or flick away when it's on, running decent tracking lines, not doing mad things. And then the other thing is just the picture in my head that's still there is of the Australian tight five running through the Fijian tight five, and Ireland's tight five is better, comfortably better than the Australian. Even if they pick a few different players, they'll be stronger even than what Australia were showing. And whether the tier 2 side can cope with that at all. The rolling maul, if Ireland can get it going, or an offensive scrum.
Fiji are probably a more physical side than Japan anyway.
Maybe less technical.
Less technical, sure. Surely, their scrummaging is nowhere near the technical scrummaging that Japan bring, and that'll be Japan. I expect will withstand our scrum for the first 20 minutes, maybe first half.
Depends,
but they will break eventually.
They were bullish about Cian Healy, saying he doesn't often scrummage legally, which is true when he goes to deck. Cian Healy sometimes has a habit of going to deck and being down and then pushing himself back up and actually getting an edge on. But for the most part, he does with any loose head. He tries sort of straight but up and in, and gets the better of most tight heads just through sheer strength. And then
I'm not sure we'll start Cian.
That was my point.
I think we're still going to go with Kilcoyne.
All of those mind games, we could throw Kilcoyne at them, who is the hungriest man in Ireland right now. He's attacking everything, and he will attack the scrum. He is not for locking things
also
down.
In the loose, they won't live with him. He's on defence, he shoots up. He brings awesome line speed on defence, but then on the other side of the ball, he carries ferociously. So I do foresee our type 5 dominance being the telling story in this game.
But do look out for that first 20 minutes because the weather is massive, and if the likes of Kilcoyne aren't at that same physical or aggressive level, the weather could be a reason why, and that could be a serious factor. If they're just moving slower, there'll be all the more chance for Japan to get on top. But yes, we would be hoping and expecting the Ireland train to continue to stay on the tracks for the time being.
Exactly, and keep rolling on.
Yes,
that's the plan
indeed.
for it.
Thank you very much for watching that video. Please like and subscribe for all our new Rugby World Cup content, and please leave a comment down below as well, because we enjoy hearing your thoughts on it. Thanks.